Good evening, everyone. It is July 11th, Sunday evening, and July 11th is an exciting day because it is 7-Eleven. That means 7-Eleven gives out their free Slurpees. At least that's what they always used to do, and that's something which is certainly very exciting. Taking a look at the weather map, we have excitement that the real excitement, I think, is on the West Coast. There is some excitement which is going on over on the East Coast as we can go ahead and discuss those temperatures over the 4th of July weekend. Many of those cities in Maine and in New York, quite a few cities, saw afternoon highs on the 4th of July only in the mid-50s to low 60s, and they actually saw temperatures cooler on July 4th than what they were on the holiday of December 25th. For example, Boston, it's not a very good example, but Boston is the city that sticks out in my mind. High temperature December 25th was an unseasonably warm 60 degrees. But on the 4th of July, high temperature actually in Boston was 68 degrees. But on the 3rd of July, the high temperature was only 60 degrees. There are plenty of other cities, however, which saw highs on the 25th of December in the low 60s. And high temperatures for the 4th of July was only in the middle and upper 50s. That's up in the northeastern part of the United States. Taking a look at the weather map today, we have temperatures which are in the 80s down in Florida, down the East Coast. Temperatures then rise into the 90s in the mid-Atlantic area. The reason for that is because the mid-Atlantic area is under the influence of a Bermuda high-pressure system, which is pumping hot and humid air into that area. Temperatures cool off when you get north of the mid-Atlantic area, a small area with temperatures in the 80s, then they drop into the 70s for much of New York and Vermont. Temperatures then rise back up into the 80s as you head up north towards the Maine area. Heading out into the Midwest, we see a continuation of cool conditions here in the Midwest. That is due to a trough in the jet stream. As the jet stream takes its dip here in the Midwest, and the jet stream then goes, there's a actual bubble, it bubbles up. That's a ridge of high pressure. That's the Bermuda high pressure, which pushes the jet stream all the way up. Not all the way up, but it does go upwards on the East Coast, and that's where you have the hot and humid air over in the mid-Atlantic area. There could be a couple of thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic area that could bubble up in those hot and humid air mass. Here in the Midwest, that trough in the jet stream delivers cooler air out from the Canada area, and that cooler air actually is even going to make it into the St. Louis area, barely though, and it's going to exclude St. Louis quite quickly. Low pressure system situated over the Missouri and Illinois area of 29.8 will continue to move towards northeast Indiana later on tonight. Showers along the front, but actually there's a better chance for a thunderstorm with the associated front, especially for tomorrow and the day after that, including into Wednesday. Generally speaking, northeast Indiana is going to find itself south of this front, and the Chicago area will find itself north of the front. But as we head into Tuesday, we're going to see the National Weather Service of St. Louis says that there's a shortwave impulse coming out of Canada that is going to wreck up this cutoff low. It's going to open it up. This low pressure system, which is not really moving, it's barely moving. It's moving again to northeast Indiana, but it's hanging around the Great Lakes area. This shortwave impulse from Canada is going to open up this low pressure system and kick it into the northern stream. This thing is going to get a ride on the jet stream as it gets escorted out of the Midwest, and at that point we're going to see warmer conditions come in. We're also going to see an increase in humidity as that low pressure system moves off to the northeast. The associated warm front also moves off to the northeast with it. We're going to see warmer and more humid conditions on Wednesday. High temperatures, AccuWeather says a high of 86 degrees on Wednesday. Tribune says 88 degrees. New York Times says highs anywhere from the mid 80s 80s to the low 90s Wednesday afternoon. That is for Chicago. South Bend, Indiana is going to be on the warm side as well, but South Bend might also be on the warm side even for Tuesday and even for Monday. There's generally, we're going to have south winds across both the Chicago area and the South Bend area, but nonetheless, temperatures will be slightly warmer in South Bend, and then we have that high pressure system from the northern plains. It's going to move in through the area later on Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. It's going to clear things out. There still could be some scattered showers due to the front really is going to stay just to our south. Now, the St. Louis National Weather Service says that some of the computer models show that this front sticks around really the whole summer. No matter what low pressure system is in the area, there is always that front. It doesn't really get out of here, and it situates itself in between Chicago and St. Louis. That front, the computer models show, will be pushing south of St. Louis Wednesday night and possibly again on Friday night. But the deal is with that, the meteorologists from the National Weather Service in St. Louis says climatology does not support a cold front making it that far down south. That's amazing. I don't even know. It's a little bit funny to me. In the Chicago area, we have no issue at all getting cold fronts to go south of us. And St. Louis isn't really so much far south of us, but nonetheless, the climatology just does not support it. So they say regardless of what the models say, the front will likely stay to the north. That means temperatures are going to quickly rise back into the low 90s with high humidity in the St. Louis area for the rest of this week. And we're also going to point out that front not making it far south is something which takes place in a zonal flow. When there's a zonal flow in the summertime, these fronts do come south of Chicago all the time. That's because of the Great Lakes high pressure systems, but they don't quite make it to St. Louis. They just about touch St. Louis, but not quite. Taking a look at the Midwest, you'll see that the temperatures today are in the 70s for a large part of the Midwest, especially in the middle here. Des Moines, Iowa, Chicago, Illinois, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri, even St. Louis, it looks like highs also, all these cities mid to upper 70s, but Detroit and Chicago highs in the low 70s. Temperatures start to get warmer when you get into the Minnesota area, and especially when you head up into the International Falls, Minnesota area. We're going to see temperatures start to rise into the low 90s in International Falls. That's been a theme that started back in June when we saw hotter temperatures up into the upper Midwest, and then we saw the temperatures kind of drop as you get further to the south you go, and that's a theme that continues. That theme really was taking place more onto the west coast, but now it looks like it's back. We see temperatures going well into the 90s when you get into Canada. Bismarck, North Dakota, highs in the low 90s, well into the 90s for most of North Dakota. South Dakota reporting temperatures mostly in the 80s, and then 80s are all over the place, and from Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. You have to go all the way to the Dallas area southward before you get temperatures that go back into the 90s. The highlight of the week over this past week has been the fact that the Arctic went back into the mid-90s. Arctic temperatures. There's a city, it starts with a B, where temperatures went into the mid-90s. Temperatures went into the mid-90s in this Arctic area, and you could read about it on AccuWeather. Temperatures were in the low to mid-90s for 3 days last week. 1 day interruption of the 90s was a temperature of 89 degrees. Maybe I will take a closer look at it and put that city on the podcast a little bit later. Going on over to the West Coast, that's where the excitement is, in my opinion. The heat wave continues for the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures in Boise, Idaho, high around 104 degrees today. Excessive heat warning continues for Boise, Idaho, all the way through Tuesday at 9 o'clock p.m. 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock p.m., excessive heat warning through Tuesday. Temperatures reaching 105 degrees for tomorrow, 105 degrees again on Tuesday. Temperatures remaining in the hundreds past Tuesday, but they might remain in the hundreds past Tuesday, but we're going to see a temperatures possibly even dropping into the upper 90s. But 100s are not hot enough to issue an excessive heat warning. The temperatures have to be at 105 degrees or higher in order for there to be an excessive heat warning. Going down into the desert Southwest, that's where the excessive heat is. In fact, yesterday, a lot of people gathered around a thermometer in Death Valley, California, as the thermometer said, now listen to this, what did the thermometer say? The thermometer said the temperature was 135 degrees. Now, just remember, the hottest temperature ever recorded officially was 134 degrees. That was in Death Valley, California, back in 1912 and 1913. So, seemingly, everybody thought they were there. They were actually in the valley on the day of the hottest temperature, the day that the hottest temperature in the world ever recorded yesterday, as that thermometer hit 135 degrees. The only thing is that the National Weather Service went ahead and they said that the thermometer was off and the high temperature was only 129 degrees, and people were devastated. Very, very disappointed about that. They were not there for the hottest day in history because it did not occur. One lady started to fry an egg, and as the egg started to become white, the police or the security guard made her remove it. So that's the story over there. Remove it, yeah. The high temperature Friday in the Death Valley, California area, the high temperature was 130 degrees. Temperatures are forecast to be 130 degrees again today in Death Valley, California. What can we do here? Here's the thing. Las Vegas, Nevada, the New York Times, hottest temperature ever recorded in history for Las Vegas, Nevada was 117 degrees. The New York Times says that the temperature yesterday was... The temperature yesterday was in Las Vegas, Nevada, 118 degrees. The only issue is that the New York Times is off. The high temperature was only 117 degrees. It was not 118 degrees, unfortunately. It was not 118 degrees, but maybe today it hit 118 degrees. That's certainly a possibility, and that's something that we would want to keep an eye on to see. Now, here's the thing, though. If you look into the weather news, the places which have the most intense heat is going to be the places which are getting the most attention are Death Valley, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada. However, in my opinion, I think that the places that should be getting the hottest temperature are Yuma, Arizona, and Phoenix, Arizona. Temperatures in Phoenix, Arizona are usually 10 degrees cooler than whatever they are in Death Valley, California. So high temperatures of 130, that means the high temperatures in Phoenix would be 120 degrees. Yet, high temperatures in Phoenix only supposed to be around 110 or 112 today, with excessive heat warnings expiring this evening. Death Valley's excessive heat warning expiring tomorrow evening, and Boise, Idaho, again, their excessive heat warning is expiring Tuesday evening. Now, what's the reason for that? Why is it 15 degrees to 20 degrees cooler in Phoenix than Death Valley, when usually it's only 10 degrees cooler in Phoenix than Death Valley? So, the deal is that as AccuWeather app has shown, the dew points are rising. Dew points are rising into the 60s. Dew point this morning in Phoenix, Arizona was 63 degrees. The forecast dew point in Yuma, Arizona is going up to about 70 degrees tomorrow. This is humid. In fact, 69 degrees, 67 degrees, according to AccuWeather. A dew point of 67 or higher is very humid. So there's high humidity, and that's absorbing much of the heat. The heat indices are a few degrees higher than the temperatures. In Death Valley, California, the heat index, it's so dry. The heat index is at least 10 degrees cooler, possibly even 15 degrees cooler than the actual temperature. So when you figure it all out, the temperature, the heat index in both places are the same. Both places range between 110 and 115 degrees. Yet, the excessive heat warning in Phoenix is being removed after tonight. It expired, but it continues for Death Valley and Boise, Idaho. It continues again through Tuesday. The heat wave is not over for Boise, Idaho. The temperatures continue. The excessive heat continues. And if you look on the weather map, temperatures are well into the 90s, going all the way up into Canada. Salt Lake City, high temperature today, 105. Boise, Idaho, 104. Reno, Nevada, 104. Las Vegas, 114. Phoenix, 112. And then the hottest temperature yesterday in the United States was 129 degrees. The coldest temperature in the United States was 22 degrees at Peter Sinks, Utah. 22 degrees. Well, quite interesting. 22 degrees. We are going to... what do we have here? What do we have to say? What more? Record high today, 97 degrees, set back in 1936. Normal high for today, 85 degrees for Chicago. Normal low, 64 degrees. The record low is 50 degrees, set back in 1996. And the lake water temperature, 69 degrees on the lake shore, 70 degrees in the crib. And the Sun Times says the lake water temperature was 70 degrees. Sunset tonight is at 8:26 p.m. 8:26 p.m. That would be sunset tonight. Forecast for this week, according to Tom Skilling, we're going to see a low pressure system which is going to begin to take a slow track across the Great Lakes tomorrow. That barometric pressure is 29.8. We're going to see partly sunny with more widely scattered showers tomorrow. Afternoon and evening thunderstorm possible for tomorrow. I want to point out that there is a thunderstorm possible for tomorrow. I believe the chances for thunderstorms are a little bit higher in South Bend, Indiana, because they are closer to the warm air. In fact, South Bend might even be in the warm air for tomorrow. You can look at the weather map and you can see today the front was south of both cities, but it's closer to the northeast Indiana than it is for Chicago, and that front is probably going to push temperatures into the 80s in the South Bend area for tomorrow. Probably about 5 degrees warmer there than it is here in the Chicago area. There still is a chance for thunderstorms tomorrow. We're going to see south winds. Becoming mostly sunny Tuesday afternoon for Chicago. Scattered showers and an afternoon thunderstorm possible. Highs in the low 80s with moderate humidity. Gusty southwest winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Rain chances diminish overnight. Probably very similar to... the weather map shows a front right over South Bend for Tuesday. The front over South Bend on Monday is a warm front. The front over South Bend on Tuesday is a cold front, but it's, I would say, probably the afternoon it says an afternoon thunderstorm here in Chicago. Probably whatever's going to occur here is probably going to occur there, maybe just slightly later in the day. Moving right into Wednesday, we have mostly sunny, then slowly increasing clouds, warmer with increasing humidity. Highs in the upper 80s, and we see that front. Somehow that front must have pushed back north as a warm front, even though the map doesn't show it, because all of a sudden on the weather map for Wednesday, you see that the front is going across Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Both Chicago, South Bend, and a lot of cities are well to the south of the front, and we're going to have a continuation. The winds definitely reflect that along with the heat and humidity. And again, the New York Times says highs may go into the low 90s on Wednesday. And whatever it is here in Chicago, it will be at least that temperature in South Bend. Scattered morning showers for Thursday and thunderstorms becoming more likely in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy and humid with highs in the low 80s. Rain diminishes overnight. Now, the front finally pushes through on Thursday, but for both Chicago and South Bend, we will both be in the warm air for Thursday. Friday, mostly cloudy with isolated showers, highs in the low 80s with moderate humidity, cooler near the lake with northeast winds 10 to 15 miles per hour, mostly cloudy overnight Friday night with scattered showers. Chicago is going to be north of the front on Friday. South Bend again is along the front. So for Shabbos, we go a stationary front to the south, creates stagnant conditions, keeping showers in the forecast. Partly cloudy and continued humid with a high in the low 80s. East winds 8 to 12 miles per hour, keep temperatures cooler on the lakeside. So we're going to be north of the front for Shabbos, but again, these warm fronts, unlike cold fronts, are not well defined. So a lot of times the warm air and the humidity gets pushed north of the front, and that is what's expected to happen this upcoming Shabbos, and St. Louis will probably remain south of the front. High temperature yesterday, 77 degrees. That was the official high. The low was 61 degrees at O'Hare Airport. High was 76 at Midway. The low was 65 degrees. And at the Aurora, high was 76 degrees. Low was 57. Valparaiso, Indiana, had a high temperature of 74 degrees. Low temperature was 56 degrees. The only place that was colder than Valparaiso in the Chicago area was Waukegan, where temperatures dropped to 55 degrees. Wave heights today, it already happened, 4 to 7 feet. Wave heights tomorrow, 2 to 4 feet. Winds were from the northeast today. Winds are expected to be from the southeast tomorrow, and the mold index is expected to be high today, and the ozone is going to be a significant pollution in the air for today. Is that going to cover it? It never covers it. It never covers it, but we're just going to say one thing, that city in the Arctic that starts with a B, the high temperature last week was 94 degrees. The hottest temperature so far this year in Miami was also 94 degrees. And this is the time when we go ahead and we're just going to say one little quick ending here. Again, the high temperature a couple weeks ago in the Canada area was 121 degrees. That was in Lighton, Canada, which was on that day, the temperature was also Death Valley, California, also hit 121 degrees. Absolutely amazing. And that's something that we will remember for forever and ever. And on one hand, though, in order to move forward, we have to forget it, because otherwise it's hard to get excited about any weather event again. I would say the heat wave in southern Canada that took place a couple weeks ago was on par with the 2012 heat wave in March. If you were to take that air mass in March, that dome of heat that developed in March over Massachusetts, Illinois, over much of this country, and temperatures were in the mid-80s into 93 degrees, low to mid-90s in Massachusetts. The hottest temperature one day was 93 degrees in Massachusetts. This was in winter time, 2012. If you were to take that dome of heat that took place, which prevented any lake breeze from forming, despite the fact the lake water temperature was 32 degrees, if you were to have taken that dome of heat and you were to magically transport it into a June version of it, a June version in the Pacific Northwest in Canada, I think it would translate exactly to what happened. It would be the exact same thing. And you think about it, temperatures were about 87 degrees here in Chicago, 93 degrees in Massachusetts. Temperatures rise about 8 to 10 degrees a month. So you take it about 30 degrees warmer by the time you get to June, and you're looking at 123 degrees for Massachusetts and 117 for Chicago. That's what happened up there, 121 degrees. In Canada, I think it's, on one hand, they say this happens once every 4,776 years, but that phenomena might be happening more often than we think. It's just for the temperatures, for us to recognize it, it has to be occurring in June or July. For many people to recognize it, if it occurs in March, you have temperatures in the mid 80s to mid 90s, that is certainly remarkable. Both versions are beyond anything. They're in the category of tabloid material, tabloid headline material, especially back in the 1990s. I don't know what's on the headlines today, but that is the deal. And we see again a continuation of the hot weather in the Northwest. I wish everybody a great day. Enjoy your free Slurpee if 7-Eleven is still giving those out. And thank you for listening.